this in a form of salute shots. So they're not putting in cannonballs or trying to sink any of the boats down in the harbor. They're simply just putting in black powder to make a big boom to celebrate an important event. This model 1841 6-pound smoothbore field gun. And that's kind of a long and technical name. And the soldiers would refer to this more as their 6-pounder. But I can tell you, and I'm not a horribly bright person, this cannon weighs a heck of a lot more than 6 pounds. But something about this cannon does weigh 6 pounds. Can anyone shout that out for me?
Cannonball.
Cannonball, yes. This gun can shoot a 6-pound cannonball upwards of a mile. So that'd be from here all the way out to the faded shores of Round Island out there.
Oh.
That's impressive. But if you remember the technical name I blurted out earlier, I said smoothbore in the middle of it, which means there's no machine grooves or rifling in the barrel to give the cannonball any sort of spin. So the smallest target, and I mean the smallest target that we could hit at a mile's distance, is going to be roughly the size of Round Island. Rat's pretty small. They would have fired him more at the half-mile distance out to that white lighthouse in the harbor. And at that distance, we could expect to hit a ship-sized target once out of every 3 shots. Granted that the ship was standing just as still as the white lighthouse in the harbor.
Does it get shot more if a president gets assassinated?
I don't know. Anyways. So the first step of this will be for me to place my thumb or the vent or touch hole of the cannon here. This is going to prevent oxygen from getting into the barrel of the gun, while Ethan here takes the gunner's warmer auger down the weapon. This is going to fish out any material that might have been left over from our most previous shot. Now this could obviously be a little bit of a trick. It takes a little bit of time to actually get the material. Now the material that we're going to be finding today in this barrel is going to be aluminum foil, which is historically inaccurate. They would have been using muslin cloth, which is kind of a canvas kind of cloth, but that has a tendency of catching on fire, and we don't want to send any flaming debris onto the heads of some poor romantic couple down in Marquette Park, or worse yet, setting a lilac bush on fire. But now the next step will be to sponge the piece. It's just using our sponge rammer. It's just wet sheep's wool on a ramrod, and this will be sent down the barrel of the gun to extinguish any embers that are still living inside the barrel of the gun. And this will finally make way for our cannon charge. This will be using black powder, a very similar sort of black powder they would have used back in the 1880s. A slightly smaller charge though. It's taken us quite a bit of time to actually get to the point of loading this cannon. They typically would have fired this cannon off once every minute. That keeps a continuous rate of fire while keeping the gun cool and you're not wasting ammunition. They could fire the cannon more than once a minute, but that means you have to skip some safety steps like augering or sponging the piece, and that can lead to a catastrophic misfire or a malfunction with this cannon that could not only damage the cannon really bad, but also the cannon crew. But we don't have to worry about that, so we can just push this up into its firing position. To the front, march. So the next step for us is going to be to prime the piece. It's a simple 2-part step. Ethan's going to take this brass spike known as a gimlet and send it down the vent of the cannon. This is going to pierce the charge, exposing some of that black powder. They send a flame down into the barrel of the gun. It ignites the charge and sends it out. Our final step is going to be to insert our ignition device. This is the same sort of ignition device that we would have used back in the 1840s and the 1880s. It's known as a friction primer. It works like a tiny grenade. You have a tube and a pin. And where the tube and pin meet is a chemical known as fulminate of mercury. When that pin gets pulled, the fulminate of mercury at the top sparks and ignites the fine gunpowder in the tube, shooting a jet of flame down into the barrel of the gun. So now we're just about ready to fire off this cannon. I'd like to remind you all that this is indeed a cannon. It may be a tad bit loud, so I'd recommend either you cover your ears or pull out your cameras, depending what your primary motivations are in life. And with that, there are only 2 commands left to give. They are ready, fire!